Okay, so we are looking at how to take your SVG grading Excel sheet and change it into a format so that you can mass upload them. So the first thing I do when I have all of this is I copy it and put it in a new Excel spreadsheet. The reason I do that is because I want the student IDs, the student names, and their ultimate grades, and I don't care about anything else. But if I start deleting things, then the coding is going to change. So I'm just going to copy it all and open a new Excel sheet. But when I paste it in, instead of just regular pasting, I'm going to paste values, paste the numbers, because that will just paste the actual numbers that were in there, and it will not copy over the coding. So I'm going to go ahead and start deleting the stuff that we don't need. We don't need the actual answers. We don't need the points value. The only thing that we wanted was the actual grades. So I'm going to delete these, delete the raw score and the sum, and delete everything else. So all I'm actually left with are the grades that I care about for their standard 1 and standard 2 grades, their ID, and their name. The name you don't actually need, I just use as like a quick check of like, is that actually the grade that I meant to have in for that child? So when I go to save, I'm now going to save it as something other than an Excel spreadsheet. So I will save it just in a random place. I'm going to call it Tori's Unit 1 grades. And instead of saving it as an Excel workbook, which has like a lot of coding in it, I'm going to go for CSV right here, comma delimited. I don't know what that actually means, but that's what we're going to click on. So from there, I save it. It only can be one sheet, so if I had like another sheet down here, I would have to delete it because it can only be one sheet, and that's all the data I need in there. Now from there, I'm going to switch over to my example to show you what it looks like to grade. So I have just a random example here with student ID. I took out their names just for, I don't know, just for privacy, and then I made up some grades. I will delete this, but I wanted to show you what it looks like. So I go to my gradebook. I decide I'm going to enter some grades. I already have some grades in here. We're going to create a new one that we'll call like practice. Practice, upload, due some time ago so that I can actually do it, and 10 points. Okay, saving that. What I'm looking for when I find it, wherever it is I'm looking for this button right here. It says Mass Update Scores for the course. Click on that. We are going to import our scores because we already have them somewhere else, and then we're going to choose our file. I saved it in West, and then, oh gosh, what did I call it? I called it Practice Mass Uploading Scores. Notice how the icon right here is a little bit different than a typical Excel document. That does just clarify for me, and you can also read it there that it is in CSV format instead of Excel format. So we click on that. You need to tell it that yes, it is CSV format. Mine always do have a header row, which is this thing right here that just tells me this is the student ID, this is the student name, because sometimes if you're uploading like standard 1, standard 2, standard 3, standard 4, if you have a lot of grades that you're uploading, then it just helps keep track of which ones are which. Now, here's the funny thing that I've always noticed and sometimes happens and sometimes doesn't, which is another reason that I like to keep the student's name this there. It's going to ask you what column your student ID numbers are in and what column your grades are in. And the grade one is not always actually what it should be. So, student IDs I always have in the first column just to make it easier for myself. So I say that it's in column 1. They're not in alphabetical order, they're just in numeric order. And then the student score column, what I have noticed in the past is that it looks like it would be in 1, 2, 3, And sometimes it is actually in 3, but more often than not, when I put in 3, it'll auto-populate students' names. So I actually put in 4, and we're just going to check and see if that works. So sometimes you got to play around with it. It does have a file header row. Scroll down to import, and let's see. So maybe for some reason this one does actually want to be in column 3. Just wanted to give you a heads up on that one though, because sometimes I do have to play with it. There we go. I only put in a couple of them, but it gave me 4 of the 25 students in this class who have grades. Notice I had more than 4 in my gradebook here. That is because it only pulls from the student ID that matches in the gradebook. So if you have the whole 7th grade or 6th grade, or you have some students in one class or some students in another class, or data from multiple teachers worth of students, you can take that one Excel spreadsheet and upload it, because it will only put in the students that you have in that class. So from that point on, I'd go hit save. It would add to their grades, recalculate them, and then I could go to another section of my gradebook, another class, and do the same thing. Click here, import your scores. You would need to choose the file again if you're in a separate gradebook. The whole thing again, you can use the same sheet. And that is how I mass upload scores.